and their costs outweigh what they're bringing in. So you can't spend more than you make. And unfortunately that was the case here. And look at it. New Jack jumping on. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah. You got to do this. I'm really for the boys getting paid. I've never been for the boys getting overpaid. But you got to pay the boys, and you have to, for instance, if Rob Van Dam is not getting paid at all and doesn't show, that's not good for business. That's not good for what's going on in the locker room. If you get that, I don't know, I'm sorry, I can't talk with Francine on the camera. If you get that reputation, then your ship's going to sink. So I get it. It's building faster than they could afford. I understand that.
So let's talk about, as we're getting started here, I guess we should tell you what match we're about to be watching. This is, it's going to be a fun show. I hope you're looking forward to this as much as I am, because I like going down this path. But we've got Easy Money and Julio Dinero. They're going to be taking on Danny Doring and Roadkill. Have we talked to any about Danny Doring before?
No, we've not.
Okay. So I think you'll like this, and shout out to Danny, who I believe listens to the show. I know he's a great close personal friend of Jeff Jones, and I know we follow each other on Twitter. So he probably listens to the podcast, but he's one of the first guys to come through Taz's school, and they had, like a dojo, old school type training facility in Philadelphia that ECW put together, and Taz was like the head trainer, and Doring was one of the very first graduates, and Taz he'd beat the shit out of the guys in terms of just their conditioning. And it was very old school respect. So you hear a lot about how, Buddy Lee Parker would wear the guys out at the power plant. Same thing happening here in Philadelphia. So for you to go through Taz's school, you definitely paid your dues, and Doring did that. But the idea here is that he's going to be a more classic wrestler. So as everybody else in ECW is doing these crazy flips, so they're doing these hardcore matches with all the weapons and violence and brawling, he's just going to grab a dude and put him in a headlock and lay down. And the crowd would start to chant boring, and he would think they're chanting for him, Doring.
That's pretty cool.
So that's the idea of the gimmick. Now, that doesn't last long. He eventually just becomes just a good in-ring wrestler, and they pair him up here with Roadkill, and that became a thing. So him and Roadkill are your tag champs. And Roadkill, are you familiar with Roadkill?
Haven't we done a show with Roadkill on here?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we have or not, but his original name, I think, was Amish Roadkill. So the idea is he's an Amish person. So we have an Amish gimmick here, and what he would do with this big beard, and the no mustache and the big hat and he's dressed like an Amish person. He would just wring his hands together right in front of the camera and go, chickens. I don't know why he did that. I just know that he did.
Well,
so, I really need you.
The Amish. Okay.
Next time, Lois is like, Tony, what do you want me to cook? I want you to go over and just chickens.
I'll wring my hands, get right in her face.
I think it'd be great. And then if she gets mad, just get that bitch a dilly bar.
Chickens. Well, the Amish raise chickens, I guess. And he liked chickens as roadkill, right? I don't know.
The idea is, of course, there is no roadkill if you're Amish. You're doing clip claps, horse and buggy time. You're not throwing people in your Forerunner.
Right.
So there is no roadkill,
right?
But it's still funny.
Just him wrestling in this Amish getup is funny.
Chickens. There you go. So Easy Money, you actually saw a little bit of in WCW, and I find it to be an interesting garb here because he's got these interesting pants and they're sort of see-through. So you can see that homie's wearing a black thong.
Oh,
what are your thoughts on wrestlers and thongs? You for it?
No.
Well, hang on now. You were all excited a minute ago when Dawn Marie was out there in a thong and Francine was what's wrong with old Easy Money's thong?
It's not me, man. What the fuck? What are you trying? This is entrapment. That's what this is. It's entrapment.
How?
You're trying to make me, okay. If Tom Zink was in a thong, maybe so.
Okay.
Okay.
So now you're just playing favorites.
Yeah. And what's wrong with playing favorites?
Well, nothing, I guess.
Okay. Watch out. Here we go. Over the top. Oh, holy shit. Did Roadkill hit the back of his head on that safety rail? Fuck. Oh my God.
This is not going to be the best match on the card, but it's not the worst either.
Yeah.
We're going to get a star and a quarter. I guess we should sort of tell you the backstory. Meltzer wrote, in what may have been the swan song of the promotion, ECW promised a holy shit surprise, which prompted debates over methods of promotion today, as well as if there is any future left with the company in the wake of losing its New York television, canceling next month's pay-per-view, and not even producing a new TV show in the go home week before a pay-per-view show. Guilty is charged on January 7th before a sellout crowd of 2,500 fans at the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York was the usual ECW show. It came across, with the exception of the return of Rob Van Dam, as more of a regular house show than anything special on pay-per-view. Everyone worked hard, and there were some booking holes that were gigantic, but good or bad, and it was more good than bad. That news paled in comparison to the big news. After the show, Paul Heyman was still saying the company wasn't going to shut down. However, there are only 2 shows left on the schedule. Sold shows in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, and Pine Bluff, Arkansas this coming weekend. At press time, nobody had gotten plane tickets for these shows, which is out of the ordinary, but not unheard of. There was a March 11th date for the next pay-per-view announced during the show, although no venue was announced for the event. But ironically, with Rhino versus Van Dam for the title and Doring and Roadkill versus Whipwreck and Tajiri versus Credible and Carino for the tag titles, it appears for the first time in a long time that there is a logical show-to-show progression coming out of this one. It is possible to promote pay-per-view shows every other month without any television or running few, if any, house shows. UFC survived doing it for 7 years, but UFC is one of literally dozens that have tried, so the odds aren't good to run that way. Unlike ECW, however, UFC hasn't had $100,000 per week payroll to meet, but without a backer, those days of even attempting to meet that kind of payroll are over. Like UFC, ECW does have the brand name and cult following, and more importantly, it has the entire 40 million home pay-per-view universe to draw from, while UFC has limped along with only the dish networks in Canada, which probably total 20% of that figure. Tony, you're knee deep in the wrestling business at this point, January of 2001. You're worried about the mortality of what a maneuver of WCW.
Yeah.
Are you keeping up with ECW at fucking all? Like, is anybody in the back even saying, man, what's going to go on with ECW? And if they do you even notice?
Nope. Completely ignored it. Absolutely, completely ignored it, because I thought, by January of 2001, I'm thinking, we're fucked. I'm looking for a job. I'm not worried about what's going on with Paul Heyman's world. And you know what? To be honest with you, it's a selfish way to be, but I'm worried about myself only and how I'm going to support 5 kids. So I'm looking for a job. I don't give a fuck what's going on at ECW. And there you go. That's the best I can say, because it's true. I mean, maybe, you think maybe I should have been more concerned about the business at this venture in my life? I mean, I'm not going to go to ECW because they're getting ready to go out of business. I'm not going to be received well at ECW. So I just try to stay out of the wrestling business. I know the WWE doesn't want me. So no, I didn't pay attention to this shit at all. I didn't even think. I know now, thanks to you, I know now that they were a big factor in the wrestling business, but they didn't come across that way to me.
Right.
That time. To me, it was just 2. It was us and the WWF back then. These guys were a non-entity as far as I was concerned. And I don't know if that's just Schiavone arrogance, Schiavone idiocy, or what that is, but wow. That's pretty fucking cool. Doring with a hell of a move there. Hell of a maneuver, and the fans are into it.
Lots of innovation here.
Yeah.
I guess we should mention,
Wow.
Meltzer would say wrestlers received half pay at the show, leaving them 7 weeks behind.
Good God.
The morale was said to be very bad, with the news getting around that despite claims to the contrary earlier in the week that ECW had lost its TV on MSG in New York, its key market, and the show didn't even air the night before the pay-per-view in that market. Trying to garner hope because Farm Club on its show was airing video clips of ECW action on USA also ended up demoralizing, since Farm Club has its own financial problems as well as a major ratings decline and hasn't shown ECW clips the last few weeks. There were not even the hints given that a TV deal was on the verge of being announced, and Heyman didn't even produce a new television show since his other key market, Philadelphia, hadn't gotten the tape of the show for last weekend. So that tape aired this week, and many were questioning if TV would be produced from this point forward. So not only did they lose their network deal, but their syndicated deal, they're going to have to give up on that and abandon that too.
Wow. It was obviously not a good place to work at that time on many levels.
Have you seen Chris Hamrick before? That's who just jumped in.
No, I've not. I've seen him do some shit here though.
I think you'd like Chris Hamrick. I think he'd be on your list. I think you would consider him like the long lost Armstrong.
Does he have like stars and bars there?
He does. Yeah, that's his gimmick.
Okay. They're doing some crazy shit here, man. Look at this. Now that's fucking cool, isn't it? Fuck yeah, that's a hell of a finish. Holding him like that for Doring to come off. Yeah, the match probably wasn't that great, but I like the finish. And then again, I guess this was ECW, and this is kind of like what has stood the test of time. Just high spots for the sake of doing high spots. Right?
Yep.